This is Mac OS Ken.
DarkSword swings again. Apple puts WWDC on the calendar, and Wall Street gets feels for a foldable iPhone. It is Tuesday, the 24th of March, 2026. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for growing your presence online. Get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain with offer code MacOSKen at squarespace.com/MacOSKen. This show is also sponsored by NordLayer, a toggle-ready network security platform built for today's business. You've probably known and trusted Nord for years, thanks to their consumer VPN. That name and trust are now ready to guard your business with NordLayer, combining VPN, access control, and threat protection in one easy-to-use platform. Additionally, they have partnered with CrowdStrike to bring Falcon endpoint protection to small and mid-sized business. That is your business, getting enterprise-grade security that's easy to deploy and manage. And all of it with no new hardware and no huge setup. NordLayer is a layer of security that works with the gear you've already got. Rates start as low as $8 per user per month, though they do have a special offer for you. Get up to 22% off NordLayer yearly plans plus 10% on top with offer code MacOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/MacOSKen. Try it risk-free with their 14-day money-back guarantee. NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code MacOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/MacOSKen. You get a DarkSword, and you get a DarkSword. We should be starting with dates for WWDC today, but bad guys are bad, so we have to start with something not good. We talked about the DarkSword exploit late last week. As a refresher, Google, Lookout, and iVerify spotted the exploit. As described by Engadget, DarkSword is a fileless hack that leverages a collection of exploits to access sensitive data when an iPhone visits an infected website. Rather than install spyware that hangs around on the user's phone after messages and other private information are stolen, fileless hacks like DarkSword take control of the legitimate processes in an iPhone's operating system to steal data, according to a piece from Wired. There were two bits of comfort offered last week. One was that it seemed to target older versions of iOS and iPadOS. The other, it was only known to have been used by Russian hackers to target citizens of Ukraine. Not great for Ukrainians, but at least it seemed relatively contained. Never mind those bits of comfort. While most of the emphasis last week centered on devices running versions of iOS and iPadOS 13, 14, and 15, the latest version of DarkSword exploits all the way up to iOS and iPadOS 18. Seriously, keep your operating systems up to date. Because DarkSword, it's not just for Ukraine anymore. A piece from TechCrunch says someone has leaked a newer version of DarkSword and published it on the code-sharing site GitHub. According to the report, researchers are warning that this will allow any hacker to easily use the tools to target iPhone users running older versions of Apple's operating systems who have not yet updated to the latest iOS 26 software. This likely affects hundreds of millions of actively used iPhones and iPads, according to Apple's own data on out-of-date devices. Matthias Freilingsdorf, co-founder of mobile security startup iVerify, told TechCrunch, "This is bad. They are way too easy to repurpose. I don't think that can be contained anymore. So we need to expect criminals and others to start deploying this." And you probably wouldn't know it had happened if it had happened. That's because DarkSword deletes any evidence it was running on an iPhone after it finishes stealing your information, according to last week's report from Engadget. Meanwhile, Freelingsdorf indicates that the new versions uploaded to GitHub share the same infrastructure with the ones he and his iVerify colleagues analyzed previously, though they are slightly different. TechCrunch has him indicating that anyone can copy and paste them and host them on a server in a couple of minutes to hours. The exploits will work out of the box, Freelingsdorf said. There is no iOS expertise required. Apple and every security person out there say keeping your software up to date is the single most important thing you can do to maintain the security of your Apple products. If you're running the latest version of iOS and iPadOS, Apple says DarkSword is not a risk. Otherwise, lockdown mode will guard against these specific attacks, provided your OS supports that. Get ready to fire up the color TV. Apple's next big event is just 2.5 months away. Apple issued a press release Monday dropping dates for WWDC 2026. It's in about 2.5 months. Pulling from the release, Apple announced it will host its annual Worldwide Developers Conference online from the 8th of June through the 12th, bringing developers together from around the world for a week of connection, exploration, and innovation. I question the use of the term bringing developers together, but whatever. Also, they will actually bring a few of them together. Apple is doing one of those special event things where people go sit together at Apple Park to watch the keynote and participate in other activities on day 1. Or day 8. The 8th of June, the first day of the conference. You get the idea. For developers, Apple promises access to Apple engineers and designers, as well as insight into new tools, frameworks, and features. For developers and consumers, Apple says WWDC26 will spotlight updates for Apple platforms, including AI advancements and new software and developer tools. Cobbling together something of a schedule. Perhaps the first WWDC event is naming winners of this year's Swift Student Challenge. They'll actually be notified this Thursday, the 26th of March, and will be eligible to request to attend the special event at Apple Park. The WWDC keynote and platform's State of the Union will happen on day 1, or 8, whatever, Monday, the 8th of June, is when those will happen. Past that, Apple says the conference continues online all week with over 100 video sessions and interactive group labs and appointments. That'll run through Friday, the 12th of June. I know I've said this before, but I miss the energy of the in-person conference. I haven't lived in the Bay Area for a very long time, but when I did, it was fun to be in and around the area where WWDC was happening. I'd sit in restaurants around Moscone Center and listen to developers get excited and or freaked out by what was coming, whatever was coming that year. That said, I also remember the heartbreak friends of mine felt when they couldn't get tickets. Now, if you're not accessing WWDC, it is because you do not want to. Apple's press release lists 4 channels for accessing the conference: the Apple Developer app, the Apple Developer website, the Apple Developer YouTube channel, and Apple Developer Bilibili channel in China. The company says developers can also follow the conference worldwide on LinkedIn and WeChat, and again, on the Chinese site, Bilibili. Analysts from Morgan Stanley and Bank of America see a catalyst on the smartphone horizon for Apple, and believe it or not, it is not AI. A piece posted Monday on Morningstar has the two firms stoked over the foldable iPhone they're expecting later this year. The piece has BofA analyst Wamsi Mohan calling for a staggered release cadence for iPhones, One assumes that's the iPhone 18 Pro, Pro Max, Air 2, and Foldable schedule we've heard discussed over the last few months, with the entry-level iPhone 18 coming in spring of 2027. Mohan seems to dig the idea as a way for Apple to avoid very high demand on the supply chain once a year, followed by a big come-down after. As for the Foldable itself, the BofA analyst expects initial demand to be strong thanks to the major form factor change. While Mohan is still up on Apple in a big way, he did lower his price target on the Cupertino Company shares on Monday. He might like the iPhone's move to a staggered release, but a piece from the street had him noting that this delayed launch creates a shift in units and changes the seasonality. That'll create a push-out for fiscal year 2026, according to Mohan, which will cause lower units and revenues. And that will knock a few quatlus off the target. Mohan reiterated his buy rating on Apple shares. He dropped his price target, though, from a very ambitious-sounding $325 to an almost as ambitious-sounding $320. Looking to the other firm, Morgan Stanley analyst Eric Woodring addressed Apple's Foldable in a note on Sunday.
Sunday.
The Morningstar piece thinks the anticipated iPhone will be big for foldables and big for Apple. A folding iPhone could double the market for the form factor by the end of fiscal 2027, seems to be the analyst's thinking. Between now and then, it could generate $40 billion to $60 billion in revenue for Apple. Another piece on his note from Seeking Alpha has the analyst saying the foldable iPhone will power the second half of the strongest 2 consecutive years of iPhone growth in over a decade. Mr. Woodring has an overweight rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $315. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for growing your presence online. I was talking to some friends the other day about the magic of putting yourself out there. If you've got a cause you're supporting, a business you're promoting, or an idea for a class that you want to run, Squarespace is a great way to do it, to put yourself out there. I'm talking about a site that is truly yours, not a corner of some social network where you're just waiting to be drowned out by the algorithm. Squarespace makes making your site easy. You can use their library of customizable templates or work with Blueprint AI, a Squarespace tool to give you a custom website in just a few steps. From there, you can promote an existing business with tools to help your site get noticed, ship physical products with included tools for calculating costs, or set up online presentations, free, paid, or a combination of the two. Whether you're looking to sell a service, songs, or physical stuff, Squarespace has a range of tools to help you do it. Head to squarespace.com/macOSKen for a free trial. Then when you're ready to launch, use offer code macOSKen to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Put yourself out there with Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com/macOSKen for a free trial. Then use offer code macOSKen for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for growing your presence online. Get started today at squarespace.com/macOSKen. So here's something Apple is bound to talk about at WWDC, provided this thing is real. Cult of Mac highlights a Bloomberg report that says Apple Maps is adding ads. Not saying they're going to wait until June to announce it. Bloomberg says the announcement could come as soon as this month, which ends in 7 or 8 days. That said, One imagines they will pump it a bit at WWDC, assuming it's actually a thing. I gotta say, I kinda hate this idea, same as I hate the ads in Google Search and the App Store. According to the cult, retailers and brands will be able to bid for ad placement tied to specific search queries within the app. For example, an Italian restaurant could bid on the search term Italian food, and if it wins the auction, its listing would appear at the top of results when a user searches for that type of food nearby. Okay, but a map should be a map, shouldn't it? It should show one what's in an area to the best of its ability. I mean, it's great that technology has made them dynamic enough to let me know hours and whether a business actually still exists. But the national chain place is always going to have more money for ads than the local mom and pop. Put a different way, maybe Apple doesn't need to sweep every single corner for every last penny. To be clear, I am not against ads. I'm against ads that confuse a channel's purpose or unexpectedly interrupt the user experience. If I look for something on a map, I want to find the thing on the map, not the thing somebody paid to show me on the map. And you thought I only ranted about politics. I will say I am kind of annoyed by how annoyed I am at this. I mean, it's only a rumor currently. Thing is, though, it is a rumor I have no problem believing. Mexico City may be getting a third Apple store relatively soon. Mac Rumor says the Cupertino company turned up on a website as a future tenant of the Matica shopping mall in the southern part of Mexico City. No point in looking for them on that list now, though. The reference to Apple has since been deleted. Mac Rumors figures that could be due to Apple's culture of secrecy. And finally today, we may know where Apple's next 50th anniversary event will be, and it may be happening today. 9 to 5 Mac ran a piece Monday that had London's Apple Battersea listing special hours this week, by which I mean this day. The store will open at the usual time, 10 a.m. local, but close 3 hours early. That'll end business Tuesday at 5 p.m. rather than the usual 8 p.m. With normal hours listed for the rest of the week, 9 to 5 Mac says this could mean Apple's next 50th anniversary celebration will hit in London sometime this evening. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSKen-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by Squarespace. Get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain with offer code macOSKen at squarespace.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOSKen at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macosken.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
I'm invisible!